This is episode 8 of the Climate Alarm Clock. I'm Anna Pringle and I'm delighted to be back again with another culture feature. And this week I will be joined again by Kayle Crosson, editor of Green News. Kayle is telling us about an album called Ignorance by an artist called The Weather Station.
Dim the lights and draw the curtains. This is the end of love.
So when this album was released in 2021, it was described as a heartbroken masterpiece by one reviewer who gave it 5 stars. I chatted with Kayle about how a breakup album became known as a climate change album. Hi Kayle, thanks for joining us again. I am looking forward to hearing more about The Weather Station, so tell us what you think about this album.
So first of all, I'm a sucker for a Canadian singer-songwriter. I think it's a great genre. I've loved Rose Cousins for a while. So once I saw that there was a Canadian singer-songwriter taking on the climate crisis, I was very keen to start listening to it. I think similarly to what we were discussing last week, the draw to me for this album is that it is so emotional. And it really gets to I think one thing that has been missing for a while, and we're starting to see a lot of that change in public discourse, but I think the public recognition of the emotion behind what we're facing for the climate and biodiversity emergency is really a recent thing that we started talking about. And you can feel, I would love to hear what you think, Anna, but I could feel the deep, personal, visceral grief that this album Ignorance is relaying. And I think I was reading a profile in Pitchfork of The Weather Station, and I was looking at the Guardian review of it. And I can't remember which one it was that said this, but it was there's a theme throughout the whole album of a dissolution of a relationship, of a divorce, of a separation. And then someone said in their review that superimposed on top of that is the crumbling of the natural world around the singer. And again, it's similar to what we were saying last week of the idea of that there are personal stories going on within emergencies. And that kind of has this richness of a tapestry of story in ways that I haven't really seen before.
And there's just some beautiful lyrics in it. And one of the ones that really struck me was the song called The Robber. And it's all about how, I didn't see the robber, I didn't know. And then she really makes it quite a political statement, how the robber is all around us, and it's the banks, and it's, that the robber had permission from law, from banks, from convention centres, and it was all done very carefully. I mean, what did you make of that?
So The Robber is the opening track on it, I believe. And I was reading in more profiles of The Weather Station that what's so interesting, that song really tracks of, I didn't know this, but Tamara Lindman, if I'm saying her name correctly, she grew up in a small town in Canada. And once she started finding out more about the climate crisis, started going to local rallies. And if I remember this correctly, I'm pretty sure she met with a city councillor as part of a formalized effort to declare a climate emergency. So it's really interesting to have that kind of context for the band and the singer-songwriter behind it. And then when you hear lyrics like The Robber, kind of, I suppose, lines up in that way.
You never believed in the robber. You thought a robber must hate you, to want to take from you. The robber don't hate you. You never believed in the robber, but the robber never believed in you. You were too.
I really loved as well that they do so brilliantly on this whole album is while there is despair about the current state of the natural world and the world as a whole, there's also this there's a couple moments in the parking lot, she talks about seeing a bird kind of fly up and down from a roof, or I think it's in Atlantic on that track, she talks about the joy of a really bright, intense sunset. And I think that's another thing that has so much catharsis to listen to, of the fact that the heightened emotion of the despair of what's going on with ecological collapse is mirrored by the heightened joy in these pockets of beauty that we're able to see. And it's just so well done of balancing those peaks and valleys, I think.
Beautiful to listen to. Her voice is beautiful. It's kind of otherworldly. The piano, and I'm not a technical music person at all, but it's just a very, in some ways, peaceful album.
I saw it described somewhere as muted fury.
That's a great way to describe it. It's a great way to describe it. So Kayle, when you think about this album, is it possible to listen to it if you're not thinking about climate change, or is it very explicit? I mean, one of the things I think that's a challenge for culture is you don't want to be beating people over the head with issues. Could you listen to it and never know there was any climate change connection to it?
I think the advantage of having climate messaging in broader pieces of culture helps to bring in people who haven't already been exposed to it. So I remember reading somewhere someone who works in climate saying, like, how can realistically anybody make a film about California now without having some element of the climate crisis in it? Which I thought was such a brilliant point of like that, showing the fact that it is here currently now. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people talk about the climate crisis in the future. It's currently happening right now. The people who are enduring the worst of it are the people who've contributed the least to it. So I think having those little threads, and again, like I guess it comes back to that point that I was making about this album and also Don't Look Up. It's showing how all these different stories all exist at the same time. And I don't know anymore, like, the benefit of having a film or any piece of culture like that just be solely about climate and have that be the top line and have no human story in it. I think if we can find a way to put the human in those kind of climate stories and the climate in those kind of human stories, it's just a kind of great symbiotic relationship.
So would you recommend that album, Kayle? And if you're only going to listen to one song on it, what song would you pick?
Ooh.
Is that fair?
I would, well, first of all, I would definitely recommend it because of its muted fury. I think it brings, again, a lot of validation and catharsis. And like, I love albums, like my friends and I call them, I'm sure this is a term actually that loads of people use, but like a grower album. So like, I'm a big fan of Phoebe Bridgers. When I first heard her music, I liked it, but then like it really like grew on me as a set of music, like her latest album Punisher from 2020. So I think like with this one, it's something that I noticed after the first listen to, I just kept returning to, and the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it. But in terms of a favorite song, I love the imagery in Atlantic about kind of looking out at this sea and this sunset. It's just a really beautiful like way that she's embedded these tales of lost love and the natural world, and like you can really feel that, I feel like, on each song.
My God, what a sunset. Blood red floats the Atlantic.
And it's definitely worth multiple listens, because I think the more you listen, the more you get from it. So yeah, I definitely would agree with you on that. I Tried to Tell You, I think, was my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's got like a really catchy chorus too, if I remember.
Pulling closer, I try to tell you that is the way that you want her. I try to tell you that the way that you want her.
Yeah, maybe that's just because I have to have something catchy to. I'm not sophisticated enough otherwise, so. But again, so this is an album that we would, I think both of us are saying we'd highly recommend it, and definitely one to listen to over and over again. And yeah, a good recommendation. So thank you for that, Kayle.
Thanks for having me.
Cannot sell you on your own need.
We'd love to hear from you about what you think about Ignorance and The Weather Station, or any other albums or songs that you think have a climate angle. Let us know what you think on Insta and Facebook at Climate Alarm Clock, and on Twitter at The Climate Alarm. And as always, please remember to like and subscribe to our podcast and tell all your friends about it. Thanks, and talk to you next week.
Standing as a